Hello friends, it's Greg here again on the Blue Feather Ephemera channel. I have an eBay store by the same name where I sell vintage magazine print advertising. Typically what you find here are what sold videos, but today we're taking a departure from that to cover a bonus topic. In this video, I'll show you how I use specific eBay categories, which allows me to limit the fields that I have to complete. And limited fields means limited decisions. And anytime you can make fewer decisions, that translates to time savings. Speaking of saving time, I don't want to waste anybody's time, so let's talk about who this video might benefit. Because I sell in the category of vintage print ads and collectible ephemera paper, it might be beneficial to others who sell in this niche. Also, if you're a niche seller in any other category, or if you sell a lot of items that may fit into one particular category, you may find principles in this video that you can take back and apply to your listing methods. And finally, you could be the naturally curious type, or maybe you're just bored. That's okay too. I appreciate you watching either way, and who knows, at the end of this, you might discover that you got something out of it anyway. It's only fair to mention who this video is least likely to benefit. First of all, sellers of everything. If you have an eBay store where every day you're listing one after another items that go into different categories, these time savings won't apply to you. I'm not saying you won't get anything out of the video, but it's less likely to be applicable. Also, even if you read that first screen who this video is for and you check all of those boxes, if you've been around for a while, if you've been listed for years, and if you're set in your ways, you're likely not going to change. But if you continue to watch, maybe you'll find my method interesting. I always say my videos are meant to be informative, not instructional. I just like showing you what I do. I show you my numbers all the time. You get an inside look at my store. You see what my sales are like. And this is just a glimpse at how I achieve it. I think it's helpful as we get started to show you how I sort all of the magazine content before I actually start listing. And it's for a reason. When you have like things grouped together and you go one after another, it minimizes the fields that you have to change in your listing. So it's important to tell you I start with a sell similar ad and then I make the necessary changes from there. So what I'll do is I'll bring up one of my old listings. I'll change out the pictures. I'll change the fields and then, go on down the listing and then put it up for sale. That's what most people do. But since I'm minimizing the changes I have to make, it works pretty fast. And overall, I've only got two categories of products that I'm selling. I'm selling magazine print advertising and I'm selling non-advertising magazine content. That's the only two things in eBay categories that I have up for sale. Category, subcategory, third level category. That takes out a lot of the decisions that I have to make. First, we'll look at this Oldsmobile advertisement from a 1944 Esquire magazine. This will be the primary listing image here of the full page of the ad, and then its second photograph is the page on a graduated background, which shows the exact size the customer can expect to receive. From that magazine, another full page, full color ad, so those would be in the same category. Then we'll make changes as if we're transitioning magazines because we go from a 1944 Esquire to a 1940 Fortune, and we'll put up a full page, full color Nash ad, and then a half page ad from that magazine in black and white. After that, we'll talk about non-advertising content. I've got a 2-page gatefolded Varga Girl magazine poster here that I'll list. And then also this full page ad. It's not an ad. This full page image of a Piper Cub from that same magazine. When the magazine is completely disassembled and I've identified everything in it that I want to put up for sale, then I'll take 2, 3, 5 minutes and I'll just get everything arranged in this order because this is how I'm going to approach listing. For the print advertisements, I'm going to group all of the full page, full color ads together. And then the full page single color ads, I'll explain more about what I mean by that as we get into the listings. Full page black and white ads. Then I'll go to partial page full color, partial page single color, partial page black and white, and then advertisements of 2 pages or more, and by color or black and white if they apply. Then over on the other side, you see I've got non-advertising content, and I just list that by page size, partial page, full page, or 2 pages or more. And that's because the category that I put them into does not specify color. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. Now I'm going to start with one of my ads from a National Geographic magazine from 1943. I listed this back during the month of January. By the way, if you've not seen my video about my SKU system, this is a good time for me to plug that, and I'll put a card up here at the top with a link. But this custom label here, my store SKU, says 2501. That's January of 2025. 1943 is the year of the publication. NG is National Geographic. And 100 is the first publication of that title of 1943 that I've listed. And so that's what that means. But we're going to start with this ad as a seed ad. And I'm going to click on sell a similar item right here. It's going to bring me up to a listing screen so that we can get started here. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to remove these 2 photographs. And next I'm going to add the 2 photographs that we'll be working with today. And, I've told you all many times that I typically list on my phone. So even though this will go pretty quick, this is still kind of cumbersome for me. And so just keep that in mind as we go through this. I'm moving them around so that my full image of the ad is the primary listing image, and then the one that shows the measurements is the second. So I've got photographs taken care of. Now, this is a 1944 Esquire that we're listing from, and so I'm going to change 43 to 44, and I'm going to take out all of this stuff at the start, and we're going to call this an Oldsmobile aircraft engine ad. And it's a P-38 Lightning is the aircraft that's in that image. And it has a squadron patch on it. And that gives me 79 out of the 80 allowable characters there. And I never use subtitles. I don't know of anybody that does. Now, on the custom label, the store SKU, this is the month of June. So I'm going to change January of 2025 to June of 2025. The year of that Esquire magazine is 1944. ES is my code for Esquire magazine, and this was actually from the 3rd Esquire magazine that I listed from that year. So 100 was the first, 110 was the second, and 120 is what I put here. Now, this is key. This is the magic that I'm trying to, this is the point of the video. Other collectible ads. That is the category. Let's well, we're going to pause here. And of course, because I'm explaining it, we're not going to do it in 3 minutes. But let's talk about the item category. Let's edit that, and I'll show you how I get here. First of all, you can see that the category it's in is collectibles, advertising, other collectible ads. Let's go, and I'll show you how I got there. Here is collectibles. These are all of the things that we have to choose from. And just about everybody that I know that sells advertising will choose collectible advertising here. But then when you get to the 3rd level of category, it's got agriculture, automobiles, clothing, communications, computers, all this kind of stuff. Government, hotel, motel, household, merchandise and memorabilia. I'm not going to read the whole list. There's not a point to it. But for an Oldsmobile produced aircraft engines, I don't see anything like air and space. I don't see anything like military. There is government, but you're going to get way out in the weeds on what you need to put in the listing if you go by that. So, what I do on every print ad that I list is I put other collectible ads. That's what I use for everything. My store categories here, I'm going to change commercial engineering. I'm going to choose the first category. It'll be in air and space. And then the second category that I'll select will go down my list. This is my store created categories. We'll go down the list to militaria. I passed it up. It wouldn't show me because it's already there. Now that we've selected the eBay category that we want, which is collectibles, the subcategory of advertising, and the third level category of other collectible ads, I've also chosen the store categories that I wanted in for shoppers who arrive at my store and then want to browse the store by category. They can choose air and space to find this particular ad, or they can choose Militaria World War II. And this is the meat of what I think is different between the way I list and the way that I've seen other people list, or the ads that I've browsed and all of that kind of stuff. And trust me, there's no wrong way to list. I'm just saying that this is what I found that works well for me. But down here in these item specifics, because the collectible advertising, other collectible ads category is the same in every print ad that I sell. I get the exact same item specifics to fill out every time, and half of them are already done for me. Whoops, I changed that earlier. I meant to change it back so that I can show you that I'm changing it. Uh, Every piece of paper that I sell is original. It's sourced from a magazine. I don't sell copies, reproductions, replicas, digital images, anything like that. So the word original, whether it's original or reproduction, is in every print ad listing that I sell. The color of that Westinghouse ad was green. There was green on the page. And so that's what shows up here. And because this is a multicolor advertisement, I'm changing that. It was Westinghouse, but this ad that we're listing is an Oldsmobile ad. So I've changed that. And the magazine we're sourcing from is a 1944 Esquire. So I changed the year on that. Country or region of manufacture, the United States. That's good for right now, about 99.9% of all the listings up in my store. And California Proposition 65, I put not applicable. From what I understand, that has to do with toxins or carcinogens or something like that, which does not apply to print advertising. I'm going to say to show more, there's no other items to fill out here. Now, let's pause right there and talk about that for just a minute. I addressed in a bonus topic last year how to optimize your listings. And so, one of the ways is to make sure that your listing is complete. And you can see here in item specifics, I've completed every field. Now, let's look at why I did that. If you go to anywhere on eBay, basically, and you click on help and contact up here, and then you do a search, let's just say optimize, and search on that. Optimizing your listings for best match. This is what everybody calls the algorithm. And the algorithm is important because when a buyer comes on the platform to search and they enter that search, this is how eBay decides what to show them. And right here, this two, three, four, five. The fifth bullet here says how complete the listing is. So if you end up choosing a category and you've got all kinds of spaces to fill in that you can't delete or get rid of, and something's got to go in there and you don't know what to put, and so you're stuck, so you don't put anything, you end up with an incomplete listing. And that's likely, I should say, less likely to show up in front of buyers. And so that's why it's important to have complete fields in all of these item specifics. Now that all of the item specifics are complete, we'll scroll on down and see what's next. Item condition. I don't have that further described in my store because I address the condition in the in the item description, and that's coming up right here. I don't have a template made, which is something that I plan to do. Meanwhile, what's in here is just carried over from every cell similar that I do. I don't have to copy and paste it again from anywhere else. But the reason I'm at the paste function here is because I copied the listing title, and I read somewhere, and I've heard several eBay sellers say in YouTube videos that the first line of your item description should match your item title. I don't know the truth of that, but it's short and it's simple to do and it's quick. And so I just do that. Everything else in this description here just talks about how I source the advertisements and how I ship them and what they can expect when they get it. It says if there's any condition issues, there'll be a condition note above, and I would include that right here before the full page ad description. So that's what goes in item description. Next, just scroll on down. You need to make any changes to prices that you feel are needed. And if you know airplanes at all, the P-38 is the most recognizable and probably next to the P-51 Mustang, the most iconic fighter plane of World War II. And it always generates interest. So I bump up the price on that. $28.77 is actually what I have this ad currently listed for. So there you go with that. My flat rate shipping is applied. It carries over into every listing. And so I don't have to do anything with that. And then the only other thing to decide is if I'm going to promote. And they want me to promote it 10%, which is ridiculous. I've changed the way I promote in recent weeks because of eBay's changes. And I'll probably address that in a future video. But that's all there is to this. This one is done. I'm going to save it for later. Now, since I hit save for later, it saved it as a draft. And there are some sellers who have a theory that they want a bunch of ads stored in what they call a draft bank or just unlisted ads. And the reason why is because they feel that if there is a day when they're too busy to list, they have other obligations, or there's an emergency and they can't get to it, they want a store of ads that they can draw from so that they can just go into the draft bank and pick 5, 10, 15, and make them go live. Some sellers have that on a daily schedule that they do that from the draft bank. And the reason why they say they want to do that is so that the algorithm can recognize activity in their store, and so that all of a sudden there's more ads available in the various places where they show up around eBay. And I kind of understand that, but I'm of the school that says that if it is stored as a draft, your customers can't find it. It's not up for sale. You've done the work, and then you're putting off the possible reward for doing that work. So I don't keep a draft bank. Of course, I have few outside obligations that might distract me from listing, but all the same, we're going to treat this like I didn't send it to drafts. We're going to treat it like it's a live listing. And that's because as a live listing, just like we did a minute ago, it would give me the option to sell similar. And as it's on screen right now as a draft, is exactly what I would be looking at if I had clicked on sell similar. So now we're going to do the second ad without as much commentary. Now I'm going to do the same thing with less commentary. And basically what you're going to hear is my mental thought process, the ravings of an old man, if you would, while I do this. I've got to take out the pictures, and then I'm going to add the pictures of the advertisement that I'm working with here. I'll remind you that this is a little bit cumbersome for me because I always do this on my telephone, all the photography and the listing. And so some of these keyboard commands I'm not used to, but I've got my full page advertisement in there for the primary listing image. And then the second one shows the dimensions of the ad. I'm going to update the listing title here. This is Old Forester Bourbon Whiskey. And the ad shows Baroque style decor. And a horn cup. Okay, and that gives me 79 out of 80 characters. The SKU is the same because it came from the same magazine, that 44 Esquire. I'm going to update the category. I'm going to take out the Militaria, get rid of it. And my other category is alcohol, beer, wine, and spirits. This is liquor. And so I've got the store category updated. Now remember, I never touch for print advertisements. I never touch the eBay category selection, collectibles, advertising, other collectible ads. Stays the same. Original stays, multicolor chain stays. The brand changes to Old Forester. That's done. 1944 is still the year. U.S. publication, Prop 65, not applicable. Condition used. Daggone it, I forgot to copy that title again. Copied there, pasted down here in the description so that it's the first line of the description. Matches the title, like we talked about before. I'm going to change the price. I'm going to knock it back down to $18.77. Goodness. Gotta have that number lock. Okay, $18.77. The shipping flat fee, my store policy applies. The 2% promotion still applies. And I want to click save for later instead of making it go live. That last listing was 3 minutes and 16 seconds, and I don't know if I can beat this on the laptop just because I'm not used to it. But next, we're going to go ahead and change the magazines, and we're going to list the Nash advertisement that I showed you as we were getting started. Here come the images. I'll move them when they show up. Primary listing image, and then the second one. All right, and we're going to call this Nash Automobile. And in there are U.S. Forest Service Lookout Tower. Fire Lookout Tower. And so that gives us 74 out of 80 characters. That was also 1940. And I'm going to go ahead and copy while I'm thinking about it. Down here for the magazine title, we're still in June, but this is a 1940 Fortune magazine that this was in. Also, the third publication of 1940 Fortune magazines that I've listed from. I'm going to update the store category here to automobiles, and I do have a category specifically for Nash. I just got to scroll down to it. There it is. And again, I'm keeping collectibles, advertising, other collectible ads for my eBay category so that I get the exact same item specifics. It's an original ad, it's a full color ad. The brand name is Nash. And changing 1944 to 1940. Going to scroll down. It's used paper. I'm going to paste in my title here. So that's done. Everything else is the same, still full page. Buy it now. I'm going to keep that price $18.77 because I think that's fair. Uh, the shipping is the same. The promotion is the same. And I'm going to save it for later. Let's see how I did on time that time. Well, I think that came out pretty good. The time to list that last ad was 2 minutes and 39 seconds. And I understand you didn't see me do any photography, but digging into the computer files and moving those took about as long as the process of photography that I do. Because when I take pictures, I just lay the ads down on that ruled cutting mat and I snap the pictures. Granted, the first several dozen pictures that I took, it took me a little bit of time because you got to hold the camera at a very specific angle to keep the image from coming out skewed and warped and lopsided and all of that. But now that I've taken tens of thousands of images that way and listed 14,000 plus print ads using my phone, it's just like a natural extension of my hand, and I can have that done in just a few seconds. So now what we're going to do is we're going to work on a little bit different ad. This is a partial page ad, and I'm going to show you the difference. I'm going to slow down, not press so much for time here because I'll be talking through what I'm doing. I'm going into this file right now, and I'm selecting this roller bearings ad that I showed you a little bit earlier, and it's propagating to the screen right now. I like that word, propagating. And I'll twiddle my thumbs for just a minute while it's coming. There it is. Okay. So we move the images just like we always do. I didn't mention it before, but these two images right here stay in every listing of mine. And it just talks about store policies and how I ship and, all that kind of stuff. Well, let's look at them briefly. I forgot. These don't pop up on the screen, I don't think. But the first one says every item packaged with gallery quality backing board and plastic sleeve, full order shipped in a stay flat rigid mailer marked do not bend, sent by USPS ground advantage, processed within 1 business day. So the other one just says that all items are original, money back guarantee. The one photo shows the full item size against the backing of 1-inch grid lines, and I always leave feedback for the buyer. So that's what those two things show. I want those in images so the buyer can find them easily instead of digging through all of that text at the bottom. Now, what I'm going to do here on this image is I'm going to crop it, and I'm going to take out all of that cutting mat that's on the right side of this picture so that it's not junking up the primary listing image. And so now that that's done, it's going to update right here, and it's going to show you only the print ad without that backing board in this first image. There you go. Now that that's done, we'll go down and we'll give this the title, and it is Hyatt Roller Bearings. And for the image there, I described it as a machinist at his lathe. Oh, take out the tower. That's not in that picture. Okay, so that's only 61 words, and I usually try to fill it up, but that's not the purpose of this video. It is still 1940 because it came from that 1940 fortune. That means that I don't need to change this SKU. I'm going to change the store category. I have a category for these industrial type things called commercial engineering, and ball bearings are in all kinds of commercial products. And so I've updated that. Now, the color here, I've already changed it apparently as I did an earlier take, but I describe this as a black advertisement. I don't put black and white. That's because it's not one of the colors that is already stored in the colors for eBay color categories. I've run across all kinds of other colors that I would describe differently from pink. I've seen pinks that I would call dusty rose, and I've seen purples that I would call plum, and I've seen purples I would call lilac, and I've seen oranges I would call peach or coral, and all of that. But all of those other color descriptions I try not to use and just stick with this list that eBay provides, because I feel like the algorithm is going to treat it just a little bit better. That may be a misconception. I don't know. But anyway, this is not a Nash. I'm going to put the company name Hyatt here, Hyatt Roller Bearings. And it may have been Hyatt Manufacturing or something like that. But we're not going to get picky about it for the demonstration. Hyatt Roller Bearings, date of creation, didn't change. It's still 1940, and everything is done right there. The condition description is used. You know what? I didn't copy that, did I? So I got to go up here and copy this and go down and paste it in the first line of the item description. But now here, notice where it says full page. I'm just going to change that to partial page. And I've been using a little bit further descriptor that I could put here. And that's see photos for dimensions. I've been trying to use that more lately. I just didn't have it in here. But anyway, all of the item description is done with those minor changes. And for an ad this size, I'm going to knock that down to 1477. My flat rate shipping policy don't change. The promotion is still 2%. And that's done. That's all I need to do to list that half page ad. Those are the changes that I make on the screen for that. Now that we've covered the 4 advertisements that I selected, now we're going to look at the non-advertising content pieces. And we'll go ahead and we'll click on resume draft just like we're clicking on sell similar item. Now, if you already had an item of non-advertising that you wanted to select from, that would be just a little bit quicker even. But first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the 2 pictures of the last advertisement we worked with, and I'm going to go and select first the aircraft pictures that I showed you when we got started. These are the Piper Cub airplane pictures from Esquire magazine. And I know we worked with Esquire ads and then Fortune ads. Now we're going back to the Esquire magazine. I would never do that if I was actually sitting down the list. I wouldn't go back and forth between magazines. That would be time consuming to change the extra fields. But for demonstrations purposes, we're going back to the Esquire, and this is the primary listing image here. It shows an airplane landing basically in the middle of a war zone, and this is the same image against the ruled background, just like the print ads. Now, we're going to update the title. First of all, changing the year back to 1944. We're not going to call this a print ad. We're going to call this a vintage magazine illustration. And there was a nice little caption on a separate page from this picture that called this Piper Cub the General's Jeep. So I got to make sure and get that in there because I actually put that separate caption piece of paper into the listing with this. But we're going to call this Piper Cub General's Jeep Front Lines Naples. And that takes up 78 out of the 80 characters. That's a good title right there. We're going to change the SKU back to 1944 Esquire magazine. Don't need to change the specific number. But first of all, let's address the item category. Now, all of the advertisements went into other collectible ads in collectible advertising. We're going to change this time. This is the only other category that I use for non-magazine, if non-advertising magazine content. It's still collectibles, but we're going to go down and we're not going to select advertising, which is up at the top of the list. We're going to go down and pick paper. And then within paper, there is a type of paper called ephemera. And then once you select ephemera, it gives you a range of years to choose from. This is a 1944 illustration from a magazine of that year. So that's what we've put. Now, you can already see that the item specifics that are required have popped up on the screen. There's only two more. That SKU that I changed up at the top, then the collectibles category has changed, and now these item specifics, it only wants you to put what country it came from and whether or not there's any California Prop 65 applicable. And there's not, so it's done already. Now, for the store category, I'm going to change this from commercial engineering. I'm going to go down to my magazine content that's non-advertising. I've got 5 different categories of that, and I'll show you what I've choose to select as possible categories for items like that. Artistic, magazine illustration, no ads. Culture and lifestyle, magazine illustrations, no ads. Historical, and then humor and whimsy, that's mainly for cartoon type stuff and funny things. And then I've just recently added a category for scientific and technical content. But for this one, it's historical, more historical than anything else. So I'm going to call it historical, but I'm also going to go in and put it in my World War II category. And so for a second category down here, we're going to go down to the military stuff and pick World War II. So now I've got it in 2 categories. Again, item specifics, nothing else to do. It's so easy. And the condition is used just like everything else I have. You're going to have to start making fun of me because once again, I forgot to copy the item title that goes down to be pasted into the top line of the item description. Like I said, that's muscle memory on the phone, but I just keep forgetting it right here. All right, so I'm going to go down this carefully. I've got the images changed. I've got the title changed. I know the SKU is right. Item category is updated and my store categories. There was nothing to do in item specifics. I've updated the top line. But look at this. I had partial page in there for the Hyatt wheel bearings or roller bearings category. I need to change this back to full page. And I'm still going to leave see photos for dimensions. Now, this is a very cool illustration, and even people who list print ads often forget other magazine content, but I know somebody's going to go crazy over this for about $28, maybe more. I think I actually listed it at $34 if I'm not mistaken. It's a very cool image. Uh, Same flat rate shipping applies, and my same 2% promotion applies. And I'm going to save that. That's all there is to it. I'm going to treat this one just a little bit differently because what I did, I blew about 6 different takes that I couldn't use to record this. And then so I got frustrated. I decided to take a break. And when I came back, I went through it perfectly with 0 mistakes and then discovered I didn't have my microphone plugged in. So I've already made all of the changes on this on the first walkthrough, so I'm just going to show you what I did. This is the image here that we're looking at from a 1944 Esquire, and you've got the pinup Varga girl. This is a poster instead of a magazine illustration. I call it a poster. It's gate folded, which means that it was attached to the magazine down here on the bottom edge. This going upwards would have been toward the right side of the magazine, and then it was folded back into itself at the right edge. That's called a gatefold, and I didn't know that till about a month ago, and I'd probably heard that somewhere before, and it didn't stick. But when I was looking through somebody else's store, there's a lot of other sellers that's got a lot out there for me to learn, and I avail myself of the opportunity to learn from others every chance I get. So I was appreciative of that little piece of knowledge and decided to use it on this listing. Now, here's the title. I changed it to Esquire Varga Girl Baseball Skirt Outfit Pinup Magazine Poster 1944. The SKU stayed the same. The item category over here did not change. It's exactly the same, even though it's a different kind of print. I changed categories. I took it out of the military category, even though I'm sure in 1944 there was a lot of GIs out there that appreciated that picture. But then I moved it from a historical type of magazine, no ads illustration, to a magazine illustration with no ads, culture and lifestyle. I could have put it in art, I could have put it in both, but we'll leave it as is in culture and lifestyle. The item specifics, still, because I didn't change categories, I don't have more item specifics to fill out. That's what makes this so quick and easy. It is used because that magazine was circulated, and in the description, I put Esquire Varga Girl Baseball Skirt Outfit Pinup Magazine Poster 1944 as the first line here, as I've learned to do. And I mentioned I picked that up first from a channel called Rally Roots. I'll give them a shout out. That's resellers Ryan and Allie Roots down in Florida, and they sell pretty much everything. They also do retail arbitrage through eBay and other platforms. It's an interesting channel. If you get a chance, check that out. I changed the description from full page magazine print to gatefolded 2-page magazine poster so that the customer can see it described in writing, and then everything else is the same. Down here, I always put $48.77 on these Varga Girl pinups, and that seems to be where the market is on them. They don't sell quick, but they do sell for that price. My shipping policy is the same, flat rate shipping on this as well, and my 2% promotion applies. So I'm going to click save on that for later, and we'll go ahead and wrap up. I really appreciate your time. I'm glad you took the time to watch this, especially if you watched to the end. And if there was anything here that was new to you or surprising, I'd appreciate it if you'd let me know. These bonus topic type videos, this one's about twice as long as the typical what sold video, but it takes about 4 times as long to put the content together and actually get it recorded. So if you like this, if you appreciate it, if you got something out of it, make sure and drop me a note. If you haven't already, please like and share this video, subscribe to the channel, and as always, leave me a quick message, even if it's just a friendly hello. I'd love to hear from you. Bye for now.